Hi, you guys. Welcome back. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker, and today we are going to be adding to our solid hexagon. So, sorry, this is taking me a little bit longer to get uploaded than originally anticipated. There has just been other things that I needed to put up quicker, so thank you for bearing with me. So before we get started on actually joining our hexagon, some things I wanted to talk to you before. So if you did not watch the tutorial on the solid hexagon here, there's a link for that in the description box down below, as well as it should be popping up in the iCard. This is not a tutorial to learn how to crochet, but how I am joining these hexagons together in their larger form for the blanket in progress that I will show here on the screen now. So this is what I'm calling my Nickelodeon hexagon blanket. This is going to be a Christmas gift for my eldest grandson. And this was requested, you know, how I did the hexagons and how I'm joining the hexagons as I am actively working on this blanket. So the blanket itself is not done. It is currently a work in progress still. So we do not have a finished object to share as part of this. So to do the hexagon, you needed to know how to chain, slip, and double crochet. In order to know how to join these together, we're going to be joining these together in process of doing a double crochet. I know that sounds way more difficult than it needs to be, but this is literally join as you go. So many of you will know I crochet and knit as I walk. And when you're working on a blanket project, you can't really take the entire blanket with you on the go. I also knit and crochet in the car a lot. So what I have been doing with my blanket is working up to my final row and doing the first 2 sides of the 6 sides, leaving 4 unworked sides. And that takes me to where I can join. For my Nickelodeon blanket, I am joining basically in strips. So we started with a flat join, and then I filled in the gap. And then we joined here. I will do a tutorial on how I'm closing the half hexagon gap. I am leaving the triangle gap on my blanket. This makes up the long edge, so that my 2 long sides will be straight. The top and bottom edge will have a deckled edge on my blanket. But the reason why I'm showing you how I've been joining my blanket, so we're working down where everything next row will, you know, pop bottom to bottom, side to side, and it's up to 4 joins, because you will have occasionally a join on this edge down here if you're joining from right to left. It doesn't matter if you join right to left. It's whatever you're comfortable with. I just say consistency, however you're doing it, be consistent, and how you're doing it is important. But this is not the only way you can join hexagons to create a pattern. So you can join hexagons on point. You can do a grandmother's flower garden, and you do 3 more here, and that would create a flower motif. I am going to, at the end of this video, pop in some images of different quilts that are hexagon based, but you can find all kinds of different hexagon quilts and kind of mimic a blanket based on those. There are some really pretty ones that use diamonds, using your hexagons to make diamonds like these, building those out and then inserting those into larger shapes. I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm working on it is actually going to be turning this into a grandmother's flower garden quilt. I have a ton of scraps, and I have a ton of scraps that are like this size, and that's just enough to make one hexagon. So I do have a larger quantity that I could border these out in a white. So I think that's what I'm going to do is for me, I'm going to join these in the motif to make a grandmother's flower garden motif. But if you're trying to figure out how to line these up, the best way to do it is just kind of laying out, you know, how you kind of want these to go. So say you want to do like the strips like I did, you're going to fill in the gap here, and then you'll join one down here, and you'll keep joining, you know, filling in the gap as you go down these sides. And you'll notice like here, you know, you've got this side that goes together, this side that goes together, and then this side that goes together. So you have 3 sides that you will need to seam up there, which is why I work up until I have 4 unworked sides on my final row as I'm taking this like in the car or on the go and stuff. And I don't have to take the entire blanket with me. It's just a matter of then coming home and joining in the hexagons that I have done. I've prepped these with that in mind, so I can show you how I do this as a walking project or a traveling project. And also because this makes it easier for me to just show you how I'm joining things together. If you want the tutorial, once again, to doing the full hexagon, I will leave that in the description box down below. So joining the sides together here. So depending on how you lay out your hexagons, depending on how you're wanting to lay these out, the first thing you've got to do is figure out how you're joining your first 2 together. Or first 3, depending on, you know, if you're coming across something, you know, a little bit weird. But what I do, let's make sure. So I've taken this up. Let's take it to the double. We have completed the last double on this side. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches. It's a 4 round. Once again, that's why I love that base 2. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. So we're going to chain 1, insert our hook to the corner that we're going to join this into, slip, and chain. So that gives us our chain 2 now. We're going to double crochet into our hole. And we're going to find the corresponding stitch here, insert our hook, and draw our loop from our double crochet through it. This is a standard join as you go procedure. There is nothing unfamiliar if you've done a join as you go before. Oops. Filming this through the camera is a little bit difficult, I will say. So we're just going to draw through. So double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to find our next stitch here. Insert our hook. Draw through our loop. Double crochet. Insert our hook. Draw through our loop. Double crochet. Take your hook out. Insert your hook into the corresponding stitch. Put your loop back on there and draw it through. Double crochet in the next stitch. Take your hook out, insert it into the adjacent stitch. Put the loop back on your hook and draw it through. Now, I like this method in general. I think this is a very aesthetically pleasing way to join things. So we're going to double crochet. I like the twisted braid look that this gives. And as we're just joining these 2 together, I am still going to bring this around and through and chain. Hold on, I need to do a cat check real quick. They're fine. I'm filming a tutorial and they're out in their little enclosure. And I swear every time I try to film while they're on the enclosure, they decide they're going to go banana pants out there. Anyway, so it's just the same way that we did the original join. So we've done our double crochet into the loop, chain one. We're going to insert our hook, draw the loop through, and chain one. And then we can come back around. And for this one, we're just going to complete the hexagon. We didn't need all 4 sides. You can wait to, like, once you know how many you need, you can, once again, do this in any way that's most easy for you. I generally just go ahead and add with the 4 empty sides and then just work off the rest of my hexagon. But if you realize you only need 2 sides, you might want to work the 2 non-joining sides and then elect to, then end with your 2 joins. I don't really care one way or the other, so it looks even regardless. You may decide, okay, once you hit a certain mass, you don't want to bother with it anymore. Once again, there's nothing wrong with that. Consistency is key in getting your final piece to look cohesive. That's why I always tell people, as long as your stitches look correct and you have an even stitch pattern and you don't have something, that causes a jog when you need it to jag or jag when you need it to jog, it's not a big deal. We don't need to make a big deal out of it. All right, so we've come back to the beginning of the hexagon. So we'll slip stitch here. And we have our first 2 hexagons joined. And we have this just nice, I love that little twisted look to it. I just find that very pretty. To me, it's like everything just enmeshes together and it's nice, smooth, and easy. Oh, of course, I forgot my scissors. Hold on again. One thing I will say with the Premier Basics mini yarns, you can just kind of pull with your hands and snap it if you've got decent grip strength and stuff. Premier Basics does not snap. This isn't an ad for them or anything. It's just, that's the yarn I was using and I had left over from other projects and it was here, but oh no, now they're both mewing at each other like, I swear. There's just no winning for losing when I come in here to film tutorials. Banner's now looking like he's trying to catch something. I swear. Anyway, joining our next one in. So once again, depending on how you have decided to lay your hexagons out, you can also, there's hexagon graph paper that you can print out. There's just all sorts of different ways you can figure out your layout. Like I said, for me, I went to do a grandmother's flower garden pattern. So I'm going to make the yellow my center. So I will be joining here, these 2 sides. And this is important to see because there are multiple times, regardless how you join, where you're going to be coming across the triad corner. So this is important. Okay. So bring it back down to the double. All right, so we're going to chain 1, insert our hook into the first corner, and bring our loop through, and chain 1. That gives us our chain 2 corner. We're going to double crochet in our new hexagon, insert our hook into the adjacent stitch, draw the loop through. We're going to work our way down just like that. All the way to the corner. Actually, I have a yarn bowl over here for a reason, and leave it to me to not remember to use it. All right. Draw through the adjacent stitch. And I do find myself like, did I draw through? Did I not draw through? The way to tell is that it has an opening. They don't meet. It's not hard to tell the difference between one where you've closed it up or not, but it is one of those, like, it may take you a second to recognize what you're seeing. I mean, right now you can see like this is a loose open. I can rock it back and forth and swing it. But once I slip stitch it to its adjacent stitch here, I can't do that. There's no give on the double crochet. There's no play. Slip into the adjacent stitch. Oh my goodness, I swear. This is why I don't normally film tutorials. All right, so we close that one off. Double crochet into the corner. Slip stitch to the adjacent one. And we're going to chain one here. Now, to me, this is very important. This may not be the most important thing to you guys at the end of the day, but I think it's better to go through both holes. You don't want to create uneven pull and drag as your piece gets used over the years. So the more ways we can secure this across the most number of blocks we can secure this. I've said this also with how I join my corner to corner blankets and stuff. The more corners you can join up and loop into this, the better to create reduced drag, pull points, and stretching points in your finished project. So you're going to take that loop and you're going to draw it through both holes of the previous hexagons. And then you are going to chain one. So we're going to double crochet into our new hexagon. And then now we're working into the second side here. So we're going to be working up into hexagon number 2. So double crochet in the next stitch, slip stitch across, double crochet in your new stitch, slip stitch across. This is a little bit more realistic to how I hold these as I'm putting these together. I don't hold it down like this where I'm working sideways as much. I just flip it over that back finger. But once again, this is all to teach you guys the basic mechanics of how the procedure is performed. Your way of doing this is going to be different than mine. It's about what is comfortable for you. Once you understand that you're working literally back and forth across the pieces, that's what I'm here to teach you. I'm here to teach you what you are actually trying to achieve. We're going to chain one, slip stitch, chain one. The method and comfort styling you use to make this easier for yourself, you know, that's your own flair, that's your own thing, and that's a good thing. Your hands, 90% of the time, the way you hold your fabric, the way you hold your needle, the way you balance the combination of things in your hands, 90% of the time, it should not look identical to another person's. I know that we tend to think we are doing things, quote unquote, wrong when we don't do exactly what we've seen demonstrated for us by someone else. And I want to assure you that that's not really necessarily true. As long as your stitch at the end of the day is the same stitch, it's a consistent stitch, and you're getting the gauge you want to meet, there is technically no wrong way to do it. If you're trying to join a guild or something like that, yes, they may have their preferred ways to have things done or to see that you're doing things. But for most of us, where we're doing this for pleasure, for gifts, to sell, whatever is comfortable for you, dear, just make it easy for you. So the way we came across all of these in this triad now, we actually have a multi-stretch, fairly durable join across those corners. You can see the loop there that just kind of braids everything together. And it's nice, clean. And once again, it lies flat just like the rest of the other thing I love about this style of join as you go is it lays flat. It doesn't create bulk at your join, and it stretches with your project, but you're not getting undue stress on any stitch or one side of your stitch, depending on how you do your manual seam work. Once again, if this is not your thing, if the continuous join as you go, or the join as you go method, not continuous join as you go, but join as you go, if this is not your cup of tea, you don't like the way the braid looks, you like the way things look when it's stitched together, you can use the hexagon pattern and hand sew these together. If you like to have a ridge, you can single crochet these together, reverse single crochet these together. You can do these other ways. This is just how I'm joining my own project together. This is the method I'm using for that Nickelodeon blanket. So that's what this tutorial is for, is just for how I'm doing my own project. So here we go. We have our first three together. So I decided this is going to be the center of my flower garden block or square or whatever. So I am now going to join the purple hexagon in here. So once again, this will show us how we're joining two. The method for joining two is the same as for joining three, is the same as for joining four. It's just as you come into these junctions where you've got the three corners together, you want to slip in and go across both holes when you pull that loop from the chain through. So we have our double crochet here. We're going to chain one, slip into our corner stitch. Oops, chain one. Now we're going to double crochet, slip, double crochet, take your needle out, insert into the adjacent stitch, put your loop back on, oops, insert into the adjacent stitch. I am having a lot of issues with the focus. My camera really wants to focus on the hexagons today. Draw through. So once again, that's double crochet, insert your hook into the adjacent stitch, put your loop back on your hook, and draw it through. You also get into a really good, easy rhythm with this over time. And like I said, this is the same method. You can use this for joining your granny squares. You can use this for joining other shapes together. This is just a nice and easy way to join square to square if you don't want to have any type of lattice work or trim or lashing or anything else in between. Now there is a continuous join as you go for hexagons. I am using that for a different project using a different type of hexagon. Once again, I have a yarn ball. I don't know why I'm not using it. All right, so we've come into the corner. So we're going to chain 1. We're going to go back through the blue, up through the yellow, grab our loop, pull it through, and chain 1. You want that to be fairly tight. You don't want to extend your loop or anything. You want your loop to be its natural size. That way you're not creating extra looseness or laxity. This is just basically incorporating the join into that stitch. So your tension should be equal to how your tension for your stitches are. Notice my loop is the same size as the first time I draw through on a double crochet. Again, most of my tutorials are technique tutorials or shape tutorials, so you can decide how you want things to look, how you want to make things your own, designing your own project. And that's part of what is so important with this craft. It is not meant to shackle you into a single position or a single project. This should be something fun for you to experiment with and achieve new color combinations, learn new shapes, creating the design and the space that you want to have. Like this tutorial, like I said, we'll have pictures at the end of quilts using hexagons that you can kind of build your own design off of. You know, some are like the Nickelodeon blanket where it's just hexagons lined up in stripes. Some are things like this one, which is Grandmother's Flower Garden, which is just creating a basic daisy shape using the hexagons. Other patterns that you can find out there, just, once again, go into Pinterest or Google and search hexagon quilts. And from there, you can use these same techniques of the hexagons that I showed you how to make, plus joining them this way, which I think is just, it simplifies the process significantly. Now, if you do want to do something with like a lashing lattice work or something like that, there are other methods to joining these that might work better for that. Or if you want to come back and do like a final row of, a solid in between color, and then use the same method to join where everything, all of these, like their final border is, the final row is done in, say, off-white. And that would create a double crochet off-white row in between these, just as well as if you were, going to do a continuous join as you go method where you outline and join your or join your hexagons that way. There's just so many different possibilities. This is just one variation, one way to do it. So here we are. With our first 4 hexagons joined, you can see where the flower shape is starting to take shape here. Actually, we have a perfect diamond. Like I said, there's a quilt pattern in the slideshow after this where this is the base for the motif. But here we go. That's how I am joining these for the Nickelodeon hexagon. Like I said, you've got nice even corner joins there, even braiding across the sides. Even from the back, you have a nice clean look, other than obviously all my tails hanging out here, but you have a nice clean look. Nothing's bulging or creating bulk. Everything maintains the same width across the project. So if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comment section. Otherwise, I love you guys. I hope you are having a wonderful, fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you guys real soon. Bye, guys.